When a Sigma male decides to cut someone off, it never comes as an accident. To the outside world, it might look sudden. One day he seems present, and the next he's gone without warning. But in reality, the Sigma male's choice to walk away is a calculated and deliberate step. Long before he finally severs a bond, he leaves behind signs. These clues often go unnoticed until it is too late, but they are there, marking the slow unraveling of his connection. The Sigma male is known as the lone wolf of society. He doesn't need the validation of groups, and he doesn't seek status in a social hierarchy. He values his independence and thrives on self-reliance. Because of this, he doesn't keep people around just for the sake of company. If someone is in his circle, it's because he has made a conscious choice to allow them there. This makes his decision to cut someone off even more significant, because it shows he has reached a point where the relationship no longer serves him. Unlike others who might lash out or create chaos before leaving, Sigma males tend to detach in silence. They avoid dramatic fights or explosive endings. Instead, their departure begins in subtle ways. Their behavior shifts, their habits change, and their presence fades before the final break occurs. Understanding these signals is important because they reveal exactly when a Sigma male has already started walking away emotionally, even if he hasn't physically left yet. In this video, we'll look at 6 clues that appear right before a Sigma male cuts someone off. Each clue reflects his mindset, his silence, his boundaries, his detachment, and his refusal to waste energy on relationships that drain him. These are not small changes. They are signs of an internal decision already made, whether or not the other person realizes it. By the end, it will be clear why Sigma males rarely look back once they choose to walk away, and why ignoring these clues means being blindsided when the cutoff finally comes. Thing number 1. He grows unusually silent, even in familiar spaces. The first clue that a Sigma male is preparing to cut someone off is his silence. Normally, Sigma males are already quieter than most. They aren't known for oversharing or talking for the sake of filling space. But when a Sigma male begins to withdraw, his silence takes on a different quality. It becomes heavier, more deliberate, and impossible to ignore if you pay attention. In conversations, you may notice that he contributes less and less. Where he once gave thoughtful replies, he now keeps his words short. The effort he once put into meaningful dialogue begins to fade. It isn't that he has nothing to say, it's that he no longer wants to share his thoughts with the person he is pulling away from. Communication to him is energy, and when he stops investing that energy, it's a sign that he no longer values the connection in the same way. In group settings, this silence stands out even more. He may still be present, but he won't engage as much as before. His responses are measured, almost like he's observing rather than participating. It's not shyness or discomfort. It's a sign of withdrawal. He is pulling back from a relationship or dynamic that no longer feels worth his time. In personal relationships, the silence can be felt even more deeply. A partner may notice that his conversations shift from personal and intimate to surface level. Where he once shared his plans, ideas, or emotions, now he limits himself to the basics. This silence can feel cold, but it's really a reflection of his decision to detach emotionally before cutting ties completely. The Sigma male's silence is dangerous because it speaks louder than words. Most people argue, fight, or express frustration when they are unhappy. The Sigma doesn't. He simply stops giving energy. By the time his silence becomes noticeable, he has often already made up his mind. For those who try to push him to open up, the silence only deepens. A Sigma male will not explain himself if he has already decided the bond isn't worth saving. His quiet becomes a wall, one that signals the relationship is nearing its end. This is why silence is the first and clearest clue. It's not an accident and it's not temporary. When a Sigma male grows unusually quiet, it's because he is preparing to leave without needing to argue or justify his choice. Thing number 2. He sets or reaffirms boundaries with near frigid firmness. The second clue appears when a Sigma male begins setting boundaries with unusual sharpness. Sigma males already value boundaries, since independence and self-reliance are part of their nature. But when he is preparing to cut someone off, his boundaries shift from calm to firm, almost cold. You may notice him start saying no more often. Where he once may have been flexible or willing to compromise, now he becomes clear and absolute. There is no hesitation in his voice and no room for negotiation. His limits are set, and he enforces them with a firmness that can feel almost frigid. For example, in friendships, he may suddenly stop tolerating behaviors he once overlooked. If someone frequently takes advantage of his time, he won't argue, he'll simply refuse. He won't explain himself at length. He'll just create distance. To the friend, it may feel like he's being colder than usual, but in reality, he has already started the process of detachment. In relationships, this firmness is even clearer. A partner may notice that he no longer tolerates manipulation, drama, or repeated disrespect. Where he once might have given second chances, now he stops. His boundaries become final. If crossed, he does not argue or forgive, he simply withdraws. The firmness is not meant to teach a lesson. It's a sign that he has no intention of allowing further harm. At work, this same shift shows up when he becomes strict about his role and responsibilities. He will no longer go out of his way to cover for others or tolerate unnecessary politics. Instead, he narrows his focus, drawing clear lines about what he will and will not do. This firmness often surprises colleagues who assumed he would remain cooperative. The danger of these boundaries is that they are not temporary defenses. They are the last walls he builds before leaving completely. By the time he enforces them, he has already emotionally disconnected. His firmness is not negotiation, it's a warning. Most people misinterpret this as moodiness or stubbornness. In reality, it's the clearest clue that the Sigma male has started preparing to cut ties. Once his boundaries turn cold and non-negotiable, the cutoff is no longer a question of if, but of when. Thing number 3. He becomes oddly unavailable, physically and emotionally. The third clue that a Sigma male is preparing to cut someone off is his sudden unavailability. At first it might seem like he's just busy or distracted, but this pattern is intentional. He begins to withdraw not only physically, by being less present, but also emotionally, by closing off parts of himself that were once accessible. Physically, you may notice he's harder to reach. He doesn't answer messages as quickly, and when he does, his replies are shorter and less engaged. He avoids making plans, and even when he shows up, he seems half-present. He may give excuses about work or other responsibilities, but the truth is that he is slowly pulling himself away from the relationship. Emotionally, the change is even clearer. Conversations that once felt open and meaningful now feel one-sided. He no longer shares his inner thoughts or feelings, and when asked direct questions, he gives vague or minimal answers. Where he once seemed connected, now he feels distant, as if he has already stepped back in his mind. In friendships, this unavailability shows when he stops showing up for shared rituals, meetups, calls, or little routines that once mattered. He doesn't fight about it or explain much. He simply fades. His distance is not neglect, but preparation. He is removing himself gradually so that when the final cut comes, It feels natural to him. In relationships, this can feel devastating to a partner. They may notice he's no longer emotionally invested, no longer asking questions, no longer offering affection, no longer fully there. They might accuse him of being cold, but in reality his detachment is already underway. At work, this unavailability can also appear. A Sigma male may start withdrawing from team dynamics. He does his tasks but stops investing extra effort into collaboration. He begins to distance himself from toxic co-workers or politics, already planning to detach if the environment no longer serves him. The key point is that his unavailability is not temporary. It's not the kind that happens because of stress or distraction. It's deliberate. It's the way a Sigma male eases himself out of a bond before he walks away entirely. To those paying attention, this absence, both physical and emotional, is a clear clue that he's preparing to cut ties. Thing number 4. He lets go of small rituals that once mattered. Another sign that a Sigma male is preparing to cut someone off is his quiet abandonment of small rituals. In relationships and friendships, little habits often hold great meaning: regular check-ins, shared hobbies, or inside jokes. For Sigma males who are deliberate about where they invest energy, these small rituals matter even more. So when he starts letting them go, it signals a bigger shift. At first, it may seem subtle. He no longer texts at the same time every day. He forgets about shared jokes or doesn't bring them up anymore. He avoids certain traditions like weekly hangouts or calls. What once was consistent starts to fade. This happens because the Sigma male uses rituals as a form of connection. When he values someone, he shows it through consistency. But when he begins to detach, he no longer feels the need to maintain those patterns. To him, dropping these habits is not laziness, it's a decision. It means he is no longer emotionally invested enough to keep them alive. In friendships, this is often one of the clearest signs. A friend may notice that he no longer participates in the little details that once made the bond strong. He doesn't bring the same energy, doesn't check in, and doesn't keep up with the shared rhythm. The fading of these small gestures points to something larger, his decision to step away. In relationships, this clue is even sharper. A partner may feel him slipping when the small habits vanish. He stops sharing meals, stops initiating conversations, stops doing the little things that once showed care. It isn't that he suddenly forgot. It's that he has chosen not to give those gestures anymore. The absence of these rituals is a quiet but painful warning that the connection is ending. Even in work or social groups, these changes appear. He may stop joining casual routines with co-workers or abandon small traditions within a group. His withdrawal from shared rituals signals that he no longer feels bonded to the environment. The danger of this clue is that it can be overlooked. People often dismiss it as stress, distraction, or simple forgetfulness. But for a Sigma male, this change is intentional. He knows exactly what he's doing when he lets go of these rituals. It's his way of slowly detaching so that when the final cut comes, it feels inevitable rather than sudden. Thing number 5. He responds with logic rather than feeling, even in close moments. Another clear sign that a Sigma male is preparing to cut ties is the shift from emotion to logic. Normally, Sigma males are already more reserved with their feelings. They don't wear their hearts on their sleeves, but when they care about someone, they do allow emotion to guide them in important moments. When they start preparing to cut someone off, this changes. Emotion disappears and logic takes its place. In conversations, this looks like detachment. If someone expresses frustration or tries to pull him into emotional discussions, he no longer engages on that level. Instead of showing empathy or affection, he gives rational, almost cold responses. He talks about facts, not feelings. Where others might expect comfort or passion, he offers analysis and distance. In friendships, this can be confusing. A friend may share a problem, hoping for warmth or emotional support, but the Sigma male responds like a detached advisor. He might give advice, but without compassion or personal care. The lack of emotional investment reveals that he no longer sees the relationship as meaningful. In romantic relationships, this shift is even more striking. A partner may notice that when they argue, he no longer fights with emotion. Instead, he responds with logic, pointing out details, offering calm but cold reasoning, and refusing to engage in emotional intensity. For the partner, this feels like rejection because the warmth that once existed is gone. At work, this shift can also appear. He stops engaging in personal or emotional discussions with colleagues. He reduces communication to the essentials, treating interactions like transactions. His focus narrows and all emotional connections fade. The danger of this shift is that it is final. Once a Sigma male begins to strip emotion from his responses, it means he has already decided that the bond no longer matters to him. He is preparing to leave by creating emotional distance first. This cold logic is not cruelty. It's protection. The Sigma male does not want to waste energy on connections that drain him. By switching to logic, he ensures that when he finally cuts someone off, there is no emotional hesitation holding him back. Thing number 6. He offers no explanation or closure when distancing begins. The final clue that a Sigma male is preparing to cut someone off is the lack of explanation. When most people end relationships, they feel the need to justify themselves. They want to explain why they are leaving, offer closure, or soften the impact. Sigma males rarely do this. When they decide to walk away, they simply walk away. This can feel shocking to others because it seems sudden and unexplained. But in reality, the Sigma male has already given many clues: the silence, the boundaries, the distance, the fading rituals, and the shift to logic. To him, those signs were the explanation. If the other person didn't notice, he doesn't see it as his responsibility to explain further. For Sigma males, closure is often unnecessary. They do not need dramatic conversations or drawn-out arguments. Once they make a decision, they accept it and move forward. Explaining themselves feels like wasting energy, especially if they believe the other person won't truly change or understand. Their silence is their closure. In friendships, this often looks like disappearance. A Sigma male may stop answering calls or showing up without ever giving a reason. To the friend, it feels confusing. But to the Sigma, the decision was simple. He no longer sees value in the bond, and explaining would not change anything. In relationships, this lack of explanation can be painful. A partner may want answers, hoping for a final talk. But the Sigma male often chooses to leave without much detail. He may offer a few words, but never the long conversations many expect. He believes that actions speak louder than words, and by leaving, he has already said everything he needed to say. At work, this can appear in the form of sudden detachment. A Sigma male may resign or withdraw from projects without long discussions. Colleagues may wonder what went wrong, but he rarely explains. To him, once a situation no longer serves him, there is no reason to stay and no reason to justify his exit. The danger in this behavior is that it leaves others unsettled. People often crave closure, but Sigma males deny it. Their silence forces others to reflect on their own actions. By refusing to explain, the Sigma male makes the other person sit with the reality of the cutoff, often creating more impact than words ever could. This is the final clue. When the Sigma male stops explaining, stops giving reasons, and simply disappears. At that point, the cutoff is already complete, and there is no going back. When a Sigma male cuts someone off, it may look sudden. But as we've seen, it never happens without warning. There are always signs, clues that reveal he has already started walking away. His silence grows heavier. His boundaries turn cold and firm. He becomes unavailable, both physically and emotionally. He lets go of small rituals, stops responding with emotion, and finally offers no explanation when he leaves. These 6 clues paint a clear picture of the Sigma male's mindset. He does not cut ties lightly, and he does not waste energy on drama. Instead, he detaches step by step, removing himself long before the final break. By the time the cutoff happens, the relationship has already ended for him emotionally. What makes this process so powerful and so dangerous to ignore is its finality. When a Sigma male cuts someone off, he does not look back. He does not reopen doors, and he does not return to old connections once they are severed. His independence allows him to move forward without regret, and his silence ensures that the cut is clean. The lesson is clear. Pay attention to these signs. They are not random changes. They are deliberate steps that lead to an ending. If someone values their connection with a Sigma male, noticing these clues early may be the only chance to repair the relationship before it's too late. But if ignored, the cutoff will come, and when it does, it will be permanent. That is the way of the Sigma male, quiet, deliberate, and absolute.